So Wilmer, thank you so much for taking the time. Again, I'm Zack Greenburg, a media and entertainment editor at Forbes, and obviously we all know you, the actor, producer, and activist Wilmer Valderrama. So Fridays we tend to keep it a little bit lighter on our Ask the Expert series. We know you're not a first responder, but you play one on TV. Just wanted to check in and see, first of all, how you're doing. How are your loved ones? Are you safe? Are you what are you doing to stay sane during these times?
Well, first of all, man, thank you so much for the invitation. I've been watching your series, man, and I love how in depth you get with everyone, and how light it is. It's actually very refreshing. By the way, shout out to everybody from all the different countries who are coming in. I see Colombia, Venezuela, the UK, Indonesia. It's we're getting everywhere here. And I also see my friend Jonathan Tucker saying some really sweet things in there too. Another amazing actor, a friend of mine. But anyways, so grateful to have the space and the time with you here, and have an opportunity to talk to the people that follow you and Forbes as well. But yeah, it's been interesting, man. I mean, I think there was a mix of emotions at the beginning, right? I mean, you don't know exactly what it means, how bad it is. Is it overly hyped? Is it really that serious? And then eventually you start realizing that there's some things and some adjustments you have to make. I think the biggest adjustment for me was to try to kind of tune out the the repetitiveness of the updates on the news, which could get a little overwhelming, and that's tough. It's tough to be creative when you fill your space, where you fill your memory space and your brain with information that seems to be updated inch by inch, and therefore I had to find a different way to kind of look at things, and understand that we all get a call, and every generation, gets an opportunity to experience something like this, and that everyone's made it through, and therefore we have to find our way back to some kind of normality and create some kind of routine at home. So, I'm optimistically having a pretty a good time. I tend to be an overworker, you know what I mean? If I'm not doing activism with my as a board and directors, or my organization, or showing up to different places where I feel they need a little amplification, I'm on set. If I'm not on set, I'm in my office producing and developing and all that, and then after that I have to be I have to be in a family, right? I have to be a son, and I have to be a brother, and then and I have to be a fiance. So I think that there's a lot of things that call on to me to be good, and I'm having at the beginning it was very confusing on how to find a routine that was not going to feel like it was Sunday every day. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
But ultimately I think I found a pretty good groove. But thanks.
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, tell me a little bit about that. Your experience, again, playing, I mean, a first responder, more or less on television. Like, what kind of perspective does that give you, if at all, on what the actual first responders are going through in real life?
Yeah, so I've been part of NCIS for the last 4 years, and playing a special agent and answering the Call of Duty. It's as an actor, you wear the shoes, but you don't come anywhere near close to understand what it really is like. I think the closest for me was probably doing a lot of my USO work, right? I mean, I've done over 46 plus USO tours, and I've been to Iraq, Afghanistan, Germany, Africa, Norway, Poland, Persian Gulf, Bahrain, you name it, South Korea. I've been everywhere visiting our troops, and being on the ground, being in the base, seeing firsthand, what it takes, to show up and wear a uniform. That's something that's beyond me, and the only thing that we can do is obviously pay tribute to that by portraying them accurately and giving them a life that they can relate to on screen. But I think that there's, in this time, we've also seen inspirationally so a number of individuals that have that have risen to the occasion. I'm talking about the grocery workers, I mean, the security guards, the deliveries, the truck drivers, the farmers who are out there in the field. They don't get the day off, right? They don't get to stay home. They have to continue to cultivate those goods that are getting delivered to the grocery. There's like an ecosystem of silent heroes that I think that, that I've learned to, I've never forgotten them, but I've learned to incredibly appreciate at a moment where they've got to be real first responders. So I think it feels good to put a face, to the individual, and I think out of this we've learned there's many other heroes that are going to need that kind of love, and we're going to have to, find within our heart to make sure they feel appreciated, so they continue to help us in this moment,
For sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I was actually a child actor myself, and I retired at the age of 7, but I played a...
You were smart.
I picked the only more unstable profession than acting to go into, but...
Trust me, we're all messed up, bro.
We're all right. But no, I played the title role in a movie called Lorenzo's Oil, with Nick Nolte and Susan Sarandon, and it was about a kid who gets sick, and his parents basically become doctors or researchers in order to try to figure out what's going on with him. And he ended up living a lot longer than anybody ever thought he would, because of the work that his parents put in. And when he passed away several years ago, people started emailing me and Facebook messaging me and saying, "Hey, are you okay?" Because they saw the headline, boy from Lorenzo's Oil passes away, and he was around the same age as me. So yeah, I think obviously I don't have the same experience as an actor as you do, but inhabiting that role, even for just a slice of the time, you come to be, you have this way of identifying with them that sometimes goes deeper than you ever really realize. So it must be pretty powerful. So to that end, I mean, we're talking today about the power of storytelling, and by the way, everybody out there in the audience, we'll get to your questions in probably about 5 or 10 minutes. So keep firing them off, and we'll be moderating them, and we have somebody screening them. They'll send them over to me. So any questions you have for me or for Wilmer, we'll get to in about 5 or 10 minutes. But yeah, on the note of the power of storytelling, you're kind of using your storytelling talents and your acting abilities now on a new Instagram live series, 6 Feet Apart, that deals with some of the real first responders. Tell us a little bit about that.
So there's multiple art forms of storytelling, right? There's like, there is portraying characters that we relate to, whether it's a neighbor, whether it's, whether it's a first responder, somebody who wears the uniform. The other side of it is the capturing accurately of stories that, in this moment are relevant to, spiritually where you want to be. Do you want to be more optimistic? Do you want to dive down a rabbit hole of scary, scenarios where you continue to go far ahead of where you are in the moment, so you get to choose as a performer sometimes, sometimes you also, as a prisoner of whatever you can get in the moment, right? As actors at the beginning, we have to take whatever we can get, but when you get to a point where you can make a choice, you have to ask yourself a little bit, what are you leaving behind with your characters? What are you saying with your projects? And I think in this moment we have a great deal of responsibility, right? To inspire, to create food for thought, to create conversation, and I think if you have that opportunity, you should. But to your point, I think that, right now we have been called to amplify, right? To amplify truth, to amplify, conversation, and to expose conversations that we often are not invited to by the news or by, other mediums of entertainment, right? And I feel like that's our responsibility, and that's why, coming full circle to what you're doing here with Forbes, I think it's super exciting that you're able to create conversations that, for the most part, man, like, where are you going to find conversations like this today if it wasn't for the ability to have an independent conversation that can get to an audience that, you know, that's looking for this, right? So, so we have a great deal of responsibility, and the way that I'm doing it, I mean, I've been very fortunate. Over a decade ago, I started a production company, and I, you know, have a first look deal with CBS Studios, and I get to develop different things. And I've made it my agenda that a lot of the projects that I'm producing are, you know, tonally and from an origin story and tonally very different and innovative, things that I just have never seen. And we try to kind of think about what stories has been told and how are we relatable to this, right? And we also, you know, think about the stories not told and in times that we all assumed we knew what was really going on. And so it's been exciting to be able to put your hands on a little bit of everything. And that's, you know, as a producer, you get an ability to acquire a great book that perhaps has never been exposed to a greater audience, or an idea or an article or a thought or an individual, you know. And I think that that's what makes it exciting. You know, I mean, as an actor, I've been able to portray characters that are far removed from who I am, you know, either from, you know, from that 70s show to Party Monster to the Dryland, even to Fast Food Nation, where I played an undocumented worker who crosses the border and takes a job at a slaughterhouse. And it's been my greatest joy to do characters that seem to be scary to most, you know. So yeah, I mean, it's been my passion to kind of, you know, find that story and amplify. And I think as an activist, as an organizer, someone that tends to just hopefully be at the right place at the right time when the conversation needs to be, you know, at least giving a platform, and let the people that are living it tell it. I think that is super important. It's been great. It's been a great joy.
Sure. So, you know, and I think what we're doing right now is kind of emblematic of the changes in, you know, in film and TV. A lot of actors are, like, obviously not on set as they normally would be and so forth. At some point, things are going to start to, you know, to get a little bit back towards normal. But how do you see the outbreak, you know, affecting production of TV and film in the medium term? I mean, are we going to see people going back on set, but, you know, filming scenes where they're all 6 feet apart, or
right.
You know, no handshaking scenes? I mean, where do we go?
No high fives. Definitely no high fives.
Yeah.
You know, it's a fantastic question. I've been having conversations with Mark Harmon and a few of my producers on the NCIS, and furthermore, a few of my other colleagues. What is it going to look like? You know, for us, the first question is, what is it going to look like on set, right? Like, I mean, we have a 250, 300 member crew that's filming and all engaged at the same time just to capture 3 minutes at a time, right?
Yeah.
So what are going to be the guidelines? What are going to be this? But I think creatively, I'm not sure if it's going to change much. I think that it can't, right? I mean, we can't necessarily give in to the fact that we're going to broadcast a world that, you know, is going to have new regulations of affection or regulations of expression. That seems to be a little depressing to me. I feel like we start portraying a world that seems to paint the new norm, and as bizarre as it is to us now, right? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I agree with that. I feel like what we want to see is that at a point where we're going to be able to return to our normality. And I do know from the grapevine that there is an army of quarantine stories, an army of virus films and television shows that are in development right now, because, you know, the news has made it such a, I hate to say it, trend to be obsessed over these updates on the possibilities of where these stories could go or how they can be affected by it. And I hope that we as audiences ask for something else, because it'd be a shame to see an army of shows that continue to create fear. And unfortunately, as we know, entertainment tends to be sometimes the most influencing tool for how you feel. about a specific subject or a specific conversation. So I think that we're probably going to go back to making people laugh. I think the content is going to move into a more inspirational, more lighthearted. I even think even procedural shows, you know, are going to find a way to be a little more humorous as we storytell, because I think that's what we're going to need to watch. I mean, it's a very traumatic moment we live in as as family, as friends, and as society. And I think that, well, the last thing we need is to continue to put wood in that fire.
Amen. Amen to that. So last question for me before we get to the awesome questions that are already pouring in from the audience out there. How do you stay creative, and where in your home do you feel the most creative? Maybe you can even show us.
Yeah. So how do I stay creative? At the beginning, when you don't have, I mean, and this is a lot of people that are watching this, and you are definitely going to relate to this. When we first were called to be at home, and then we were called to stay at home, and then we were called to keep 6 feet apart from one another. You start wondering, like, oh, so then when are we going to be able to be creative again? Because this is what I do for a living, you know? And when you don't have a benchmark, when you don't have like a starting date, most of us actors decide to get a little voluptuous and let the hair go and then grow the hair. You know what I mean? We kind of let go a little because it's time to rest. We don't have to be ass in shape, and we don't have to. I mean, let's be honest. Most of actors, you know, we when it's hiatus, we really put our feet up. You know, so that was difficult to understand that Tuesday and Wednesday is feeling like Saturday, right? And I think that the way that I stayed creative was by doing an inventory. I had to do a real inventory with my life, and I had to figure out how to create a right routine, you know. And I think everyone's talking about this: create your own commute within your own home. No matter how big or small your home is, you still should find some type of commute. And I think that I was very blessed because I've taken a lot of my creative work and a lot of my health and fitness work very serious. So throughout the years, I slowly have been building my workspaces in my property, in my home. And every year I add a little piece, I add a little thing, I expand a little room, I do a little things, because it is my life, right? And if I spend 10 hours or 8 hours on set, when I go home, my workday doesn't end, right? I have to, you know, I have to engage a staff full of a scripted executive, a non-scripted executive, my executive assistants, the ideas, the books, the treatments, this. So I need a space, and we have offices at the CBS studios. But sometimes I want to go home. I want to come home instead of going to a lot after I just left a lot, you know. So I build a nice little creative space for myself, and I'll show you. It's a little hut just away from the main house, and this will be my executive office right here. Let me see if I can turn this camera around. So I have a cool space. Some of the fans out there probably love to see this. This is the first poster of the announcement of That 70s Show for the first time. We're airing on Sunday nights at 8:30 on Fox. And that was between The Simpsons and The X-Files. And then, so this is my desk right here. I have like some of my memorabilia here. And I have some of my cast, my first play, my first English play, you know, me and my homeboy, Obama. And I got some of my books and stuff. I got my assistant who works here. I got a little conference area here. Got some of the nice words, and then I get to open this garage up to the fresh air and all that. That's my backyard. And then here's some of the posters, some of the show. Short-lived, medium-lived. And then this will be my other office space. Like this right here will be my little conference area. And I've taken like my space super serious, and this is kind of this is my home office, because we really have multiple things going at all times. So I needed the space, and this has been in like literally 12 years in the making. Slowly every year I like put a little item here and build it. So I'm fortunate that I get to walk to a place to be creative, you know, but ultimately it is a deserted space. You know, I'm really here by myself. obviously technology has given us the idea to be able to commute with one another, you know. So this is my creative space. This is where I get stuff done. We have created a keyword, which is proactive, right? We got to be proactive. So when they say go, we are hitting the floor running with all the ideas we got, with all the treatments, and everything's got to be airtight. So the whole staff is working really, really hard. So shout out to WVE, because I know they're watching. But yeah, so that's kind of the space. And what was the next question? It was the space, and then.
Oh yeah, no, and let's see it. So we definitely got you answered the whole thing. The next one is there a book or TV show that you're currently really into?
Yeah, so I'm trying to watch a bunch of documentaries. I'm a sucker for alien conspiracy, so I just watched a documentary. I think it's called Close Encounters, and they have a bunch of officials. Are you familiar with it? I don't know if it just came out.
The documentary or the movie? There's a
documentary.
Oh no, the movie for sure, but the documentary I have not watched. Although
yeah,
the X-Files, also not a documentary. Big fan of that as well.
Oh my God, I actually watched that last year. A year and a half ago, I watched all of X-Files again, because I feel like that's when. With that tone, I mean, that cinematic, those performances. I mean, it's hard. I haven't seen that again in pop culture today. I mean, what they did was just iconic. So I totally rewatched the X-Files, and I recommend everyone to watch the X-Files. There's tons of incredible stories and episodes. It's kind of like that's like Black Mirror body procedural, you know. It's like there's some really twisted stories and really cool windows about stuff. So, but what I'm watching right now, I'm watching documentaries, watch Close Encounters. Obviously, I had to see what all the hype is about, right? And and I watched Tiger King, and what else? And I'm rewatching all the James Bond movies again. I'm going all the way back, you know, to the exploding pans and the spinning hats and, you know, and all that stuff. So I'm going back to that. There's a lot of incredible movies there and a lot of great performances from really charming, you know, British men, you know. So and then so that's another thing I'm watching. And, you know, to be honest, I also took this as an opportunity to rewatch. I know it's going to sound weird to a lot of people, but I'm always a student. So I started rewatching a lot of my work. And I started asking myself within today, if I had an opportunity to redo those performances, like what choices would I have made? And I feel like that's my own acting class, you know, kind of critiquing myself, and in a healthy way, you know, obviously. But that's another thing I'm doing. I'm rewatching From Dusk Till Dawn, which is something I did with Robert Rodriguez and Zane Holtz and a bunch of amazing actors there, and then and Robert Patrick. And so yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with content, you know. And every night is an adventure. You know, me and my fiance just flipping channels trying to find something, or watching something. There's a documentary called LA Originals that is from Esteban Oriol, who just came out. It's about the Chicano culture, the cartoon, and Esteban, who were a big part of, you know, that LA Chicano life. So that's something I participated in that too. So that was pretty cool. That just came out today. So, but yeah, man, that's as in depth as I get.
All right. What about productivity tips for people who live in small apartments? I really feel that as somebody who lives in New York, and I mean, my wife and I are lucky. We have, 2 bedrooms, a small 2-bedroom apartment, but like, what if you're out there in a studio apartment and kind of like cooped up? I mean, what's your best recommendation for staying productive and happy in that situation?
You know, it's really, I'm glad you asked that, right? Because I never had this. You know, I never had this. I mean, 10 plus years ago when I was starting to produce or whatever, I honestly, I would do it in the bathroom sometimes, you know. I would use my toilet as the chair, and I bring a little, TV dinner little desk, and then I would type and I would write and I would make notes. But the creative space is anywhere you are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm going to tell you this right now. I think that in this moment, we are craving going other places, We are craving like having a thing away from home, or like having a place where you can be quiet. But the truth is that your creativity is where you are. It's like Air Force One, right? Like whatever plane the president is in, that becomes Air Force One. I mean, that's the way you should really think about your creativity. Your desk could be a journal, right? Your desk could be a notepad. That's your office, right? So as long as you have a pen and a piece of paper, or as long as you have whatever you work on, it was an iPad or a laptop, or you make notes on a journal or some type of notebook. The truth is, if you really are kind of tired of doing it on your bed or in your kitchen or living room, what I would do is I would rearrange your furniture. Honestly,
Yeah.
I will rearrange the furniture and make it look a little different. Like, this is an opportunity where now you've been living inside your space for about, I don't know, a month and change just this way. You're kind of tired of the same walking 20 steps here and then 10 that way. Rearrange your furniture a little bit and see what that does to your mind. I bet that it opens up something that you wouldn't even expect, right? Move the couch this way, take the TV to the other side. And then within that rearranging, see where you feel the most comfortable. And I would say that if you have a small apartment, rearrange your furniture, make your place look like it's a different distribution. And I think that would be a really, really healthy and creative start at finding other places, within the same room, finding other configurations, and keeps you motivated.
All right. A couple more questions before we wrap up here. Oh, we've got a feline visitor. Maybe joining. Hey, all right.
Is that a boy or girl?
This is Claude. Claude also made an appearance last week with Steve Aoki.
Oh, cool.
So
well, here, let me introduce him to my
yeah, please.
Guy. Hey, Barack, come here. Barack, speak. Come on. Don't be lazy. Barack, come on. Speak. Hey, sit. Speak. Good boy. Oh, wait, you're being coy now? Speak. Come on. All right. It's going to make me look back. You will make me look back over there. Look at those eyes. That's cool.
But last couple of questions. What are the hobbies that you have, and what do you do to kind of calm yourself? Other than watching TV and movies and reading.
So I get up in the morning, right, and I feel the ground underneath me, right? I try to go walk outside. I've been trying to do it barefoot, but it's been really cold in LA, so the stones are very cold in my feet. But at least getting the fresh air, I think that's important, right? And then going to the gym, and I literally go to trying to break PRs, and that means personal records. I try to do more reps than yesterday. I try to push harder than before. But ultimately, I gotta tell you, the other thing that really helped me is turning air conditioners off, turning TVs off, turning fans off, turning everything that makes any noise, and just being content in silence, and just kind of not necessarily listen to your head, but listen to your body. That's been kind of purifying. Being okay with silence is something that none of us have ever been taught to do. And silence tends to be sometimes a little scary, a little overwhelming. Right? What I would say is, if you can sit 15 minutes, 20 minutes by yourself or with your loved one, whoever, and embrace the silence and just listen to your body instead of your mind, something magical happens, man. It's like a reboot of thoughts. Once you go from your body to your mind, it's almost like you just give your mind a little break from thinking about everything else you're watching or browsing online or on Instagram or anything. So that to me is actually, I think, a really good advice I can give people. Just get comfortable. There's something beautiful about having silence. Sometimes we overpopulate our with noise. Earlier and safe and see comforting. And then after that, play a lot of music.
Yeah.
That's the mood. That's the game changer right now. You can play any type of music. You can create a theme for Monday, for Tuesdays, and that also makes a difference.
All right. Well, last question here, and I think it's a great note to end on. What do you miss most about being outside, and what's the first thing you're going to do once the lockdown is over?
The thing that I miss the most about being outside, I mean, look, they've closed the parks, they've closed the beaches. We're not allowed to really go to recreational public spaces. Specifically with nature. I'm lucky. I have a lot of trees around me. It still kind of feels like I get my feet in the green. I love to go to the beach and bring a little portable grill and do something on that beach. That'd be nice. But ultimately, I really want to finally do a dinner with my family, bring a bunch of my friends, and I'm okay with being home. So I love to host. I love to have my friends. I love to give people hugs, high five again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
that I kind of miss is being able to host somebody, get a couple of bodies, go to the backyard, smoke a cigar, and just talk. And I think to me that's one thing I'm excited to do is just kind of host again and bring people together and then have a Thanksgiving dinner a random Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, for me, I think I'm most looking forward to playing a softball game with the Forbes softball team. So, hopefully we'll be all back to that kind of stuff sooner rather than later. Well, thank you so much, Wilmer, for taking the time today, and for everybody tuning in. Again, I'm Zack Greenburg. This is Wilmer Valderrama, and this is actually This is Ask the Expert at Forbes. So stay safe out there. Thanks again, Wilmer. And,
thank you, Zack. I appreciate you, brother.
Soon. All right.